new anvil. I think it's a Mousehole just based on the shape. So if I show you the other one we've got here, Armitage Mousehole 1, 2, 3. And you look at the shape, kind of this this shape over here, this curve, and kind of how the waist is there. So the overall shape, I think it's a Mousehole, and you know, just looking at it, I thought it was. Let me flip it around here. I just took it outside with some petroleum-based solvent cleaner. It was on a block of wood that the guy had, I don't know, dumped his waste oil on for 50 years or something. So let me flip this around. I'll show you where it says, I think it says hole on it. Give me 1 minute here. So it might be a little hard to see. I think it's a 1-1-23, and it says hole up here. And I can kind of see, it might say Armitage or something up on top. So just cleaned up the shop not that long ago. It won't look like that, and I thought, well, this is a good place to put the new saw over there. Got my old Mousehole over there. But anyway, I thought it'd be a good spot to put the drill press right here. But if you look, got my rust removal tank right here, and it was really right there before, which is nice because the I-beam with the lift is right there. So now I'm gonna have to, I pulled it out, I had it, and kind of see the spot. It's really clean. That's where it was sitting about 10 minutes ago. So I'm gonna rig up this anvil with a piece of copper wire, and then I'll use the lift, and I'll show you guys. I'll put it in the tank like I did the other one, and we'll have another Mousehole here to clean up. Let me get that rigged up and show you. Actually, before I do all that, I'll show you. I clean this up with petroleum-based solvent cleaner, and it's still got a ton of grease on here, which that rust removal won't work if it can't get electrical connectivity to the metal. So I may have to do a little more cleaning on this, but well, we'll get her rigged up on the chain hoist and then see how much cleaner we can get it. So what I've done in the past is I'll just take a piece of heavier copper wire. I'm not sure what gauge this is, but I'll run it through the main hole here. Oh man, I always forget about these things they're called. The pritcher hole is the little one, and this is the, we'll remember it later. Anyway, run it through there a couple of times. So now I've got it run through here 2 times. And what I can do is get my chain hoist, which will lift up this heavy anvil, and it'll pick this up, and then the 2 wires won't unhook, or hopefully break, because I got double thickness here. So let's get that over here and look. Super safe, not sketchy at all. Got the old steel toes on, so if it falls on my foot, not a big deal. I'm more worried about smashing through the cement. Alright, so we should be able to pick this bad boy up. Give it a little testy test here. Yep, seems alright. So, I don't know if you guys can see any of that. Alright, awesome. So I've got this here set up, bent these wires over, double thickness here. And what I can do is, because it's kind of somewhat up right now, I can get it down into that tank. So we'll set you guys out to maybe see some of that, and then we can paint. Again, you can kind of see the hole. I'm sure it's going to say Armitage Mousehole. I'm not sure what else to be able to see. But it's mostly, I think, grease and grime on this thing. So hopefully this will clear it off if I get into this tank. And I think I've showed you guys this before if you haven't seen the other videos, but there's a stainless steel, I'm not sure where I got that from. It was a piece of trim off of something, and I made a loop all the way around inside the barrel, and that'll be the, I don't know, anode, cathode, whatever you want to call it. But I'll hook up the positive to that, and then the negative to the anvil. So now we're mostly in this tank here. Get it all the way down. That's the beauty of the copper wire. You can just let it go all the way down into the water. And I might have to add a little water back to this to get it done. That way we got the whole anvil in the water. Now what I should be able to do, like I said, is you put the positive on the steel that you don't care if it's gone when you're done, because if you put regular steel in there, it'll eat it away. Then I put the negative on the part you're trying to clean. And then what I've got for a power supply is this fast starter, charger, or whatever. So I just go to 12 volt, the 10 amp one. You kind of check this. Let me disconnect the part here for a second. I've shown you guys this before, but if you notice, if my caffeine-induced hand isn't, see how that's moving? So when I hook it up, it just ever so slightly starts pulling a charge. So we'll let it sit here for a little bit, but if it's connected to the metal and everything's working right, you'll start to see bubbles come rolling off of it. And what I'll do is I'll crank it up to the, usually to get it started, I might go to this 30 amp. See if you can see that. So now it's at the 30 amp. It's making a more aggressive growling noise. That means it's working harder. And you can kind of see it working way down in there. You see all those little bubbles. Eventually they'll find their own little spot, and then they'll start coming off in like a stream. But you can see it's definitely working. So I'll let it go on the 30 amp for a period of time. This side here you can really see the whole side is all kind of covered with thin bubbles. The sides were really nice and clean. It was kind of the bottoms of this horn down in here. That was where it kind of was full of grease. And then the holes, they use the lifting holes that they use for making them, those little square holes, those were all tight full of grease. So I don't know how they ever got the size of these things full, but anyway, that's the, we'll see if I can get this cleaned up maybe in the next 24 hours, and I'll at least show you the first. Oh, you can really see the bubbles coming off there now. You can see that coming off the edge of the anvil in there. Yeah, this is working good. So now that I know it's got a connection, everybody's happy. I'll turn it down, back down to the 10 amp, and just let it go. Seems like time is your friend on this one. But right now, all the electricity should be going all the way around. So every side of this should be getting, you know, a visual of that. So, all right, I'll give you guys a shot when I get it, at least the first shot of cleaning it up. All sorts of bubbles coming off. That means it's working good. It's cooking. It's cooking in the tank. I'm back. This is 24, maybe 26 hours later. That's what it looks like. So it's still bubbling in there. Blow the crud away. So what I'm gonna do is I'll pull it out. It's still not pulling a lot of amperage, but we'll pull it up here, turn it off, pull it up, and show you what it looks like. So let's raise this up. Let that drip dry for a minute here. Well, I get a wire brush and maybe some steel wool. So now I'll just kind of scrape this down, try to save the chunks. This is the side here that's got the writing on it. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see. Kind of in this region right here. Let's see if I can get you moved up a little closer here. I can clean that up a little bit so you guys can see something. Alright, let me get my steel wool. So all I've got is stainless steel wool. And then so I'll get my dishpan hands. Usually with this stuff, if you get it soaking for a day like this, and then loosen it up with something, either steel wool or a wire brush, then it'll really start taking off the rust and stuff that's on there. Brand new towel here, see? Just watching some sweet project cars the other day. The guy was mentioning how save your old towels for stuff like this. Let's give her one more shot with the steel wool. Maybe we'll dip it in the water tank here a little bit. It's really nice if it's in the summer. You can take these out in the driveway with some pressure washer. Oh yeah, we're getting it now. We can see a little bit of the silver coming through. Let me just show you guys what I'm seeing here. So if we look, I think what we're seeing here is armitage. It should say armitage. And then there's a mouse hole. So you guys can ARM, Armitage. There's a M. A little more cleaning will be needed there. Hole. Now I'm not seeing a forge, but yeah, I almost thought it looked like some sort of a circular deal there, but these things are beat on pretty good, so I'm not seeing a forge on this one, but 112, and I'll show you the other one, kind of what we're trying to see. So this is the Armitage Mousehole, and then forge on the bottom. That's a 1, 2, 3. So Armitage Mousehole forge, and it's all kind of like right in line there. Going back to this one, I'd say Armitage, and then Mousehole. So I'll give it the once over, put it back in the tank, then we'll show you what we come up with. All right, this is the old one. You can see there's an M and sign, H, and then it's Armitage Mousehole forge, and then it's 1, 2, 3. That's the weighting system. And this is kind of nice how it's all in line here. Well, if I go over to the new one, because I think this one's actually older, I can see up here ARMITAG. Can't really see. I'm sure there's an E right there maybe. Mouse hole, but look, it's like Armitage starts over here, mouse is right here, and then holes over here. Then we have the 1, 1, 23. I can't really see. That might be an H. So we'll kind of review in the book and see what the book says. But I just I didn't show you guys the awesome parts where I cleaned it all off and just took some steel wool, wire brush, and some soapy water and cleaned the whole thing down. So and this is clear Rust-Oleum paint. So the only other thing I saw on this one was this IN, which I don't know if that was the maker's mark or what it was. But overall, about the same size as the other anvil. I think it's about 5 pounds lighter than the first one I just showed you. And there's a little chip, I think, here. And then this front must have seen a lot of, I don't know if that was, I don't know, if that broke out and they just kind of, because this part of the anvil is wrought iron. And then this part right here, I don't know if we'll be able to see it. You can kind of see is forge welded, this like a hardened plate on top. So that's why this step is in right here. That's the, that's the plate. So anyway, so this one, like I said, there's a little bit of a chip there. If I was going to use it, I'd probably go from the radius that's here to a really wide radius to kind of work this out. Or potentially welding these is a little bit tricky, but maybe weld a little bit of that up, and but sometimes it's nice to have a bigger diameter radius on the edge somewhere. But overall, not too bad. Got it painted up clear, so now I'm just going to flip it over, paint the bottom side, just give it one coat or two so I can get some rust protection on the bottom. So there it is. I think this is a little bit older than the other one. So I don't know if it really matters, but I like to try to find the date that some of these were made. So I've got two books here. Mousehole Forge, which this is a Mousehole Anvil, and Anvils in America, both by the same Richard Postman. If you're looking for some books to talk about anvils, I suggest this one. Lots of different anvils in this one. Turns out this one is kind of more of a history of the actual forge itself. So whatever you're interested in, but there's a ton of history of that forge, the owners, all sorts of fun stuff. So in going through these books, I'm really trying to figure out, you can tell by the stampings on here what age everything is. So that's what we're trying to go through the Mousehole Forge book first. It's got two examples in here. M&H Armitage Mousehole, and then the M&H Armitage Mousehole Forge. Well, you saw the other one I had. That's why I assume the other one's 1860, because that one has the forge information on it. And this one does not. Now they say this Pritchell hole happened about 1830. So if you assume that happened in 1830, that's got to be about the date. You know, it's got to be newer than that. It doesn't look like it's drilled. It's kind of hard to tell, I guess, but I don't think anybody drilled that. I think that was formed in there. So I think this one's probably, in looking at this, I think that's an H. I can't, it's so damaged over here, I really can't really see there if that's anything. But as we continue to go through the book here, they've got more of a simplified cartoonish version here. So we've got the M&H Armitage Mousehole, 1820 to 1835. So if the Pritchell hole came in 1830, that means we're somewhere between 1830 and 1835. Now after that, they had, apparently the M&H were two brothers. Sounds like from 1833, Morgan died, and then Henry started doing the Henry Armitage Mousehole. And then in 1850, when Henry died, apparently the family went back to the M&H. So this is 1854. So that's why I assume the other one I've got, it's got the M&H Armitage Mousehole. So I assume that's 1860. I just kind of roughly averaged it to a nice round number there. Here are some examples from the book where it says Henry. And these are all kind of lined up nicely. It's got the fancy, it's a little bit more of a script too. What we've got on this one, a little simpler too, unless it just hasn't, it doesn't look it really wore off in there if they have this fancy extra script on there. And this is a Henry Armitage Mousehole, and those are more kind of nicely lined up with the fancy. It's almost got to be an M&H. I think that's a, depends what angle you look at here. That looks to me like that is an H. So I would age this one probably at that 1830 to 1835. So I can't see the Henry. This one has the forge. So I'm guessing it's an M&H Armitage Mousehole. This goes from 1820 to 1835. They said this Pritchell hole, the round one, not the Hardy hole, but the Pritchell hole, 1830. So that would put it roughly 1830 to 1835. If anybody cares, which once I know, I think that'll be good enough for me. So this one is older than the other one I have. They also said that one thing to look for on these is kind of the sharp here. When it got to the late 1890s, apparently they switched to a two-piece design where this was a more fluid, rounded section. This is a three-piece design where this is kind of where the pieces come together. They also said when that got rounded off, they normally added some sort of a serial number and then a handling hole in this area. So this one, like I said, 1830 to 1835. My guess. If you have better information than me, please leave some notes doobly-doo below. Thanks a lot, everyone.